I'm gonna start the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, July 16th, 2018. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, up first on the agenda is to approve the manifest.
I'll make a motion to approve the accounts payable manifest of July 16th, 2018, and the payroll manifest of July 17th, 2018.
Second?
I can't second, but I wanted to comment on one thing.
Okay. Do you want a second so then he can comment?
Second. I thought that's what you were doing.
You had gotten some email traffic about refunds on tax collection activities. We have treated those like any other expense. They're pretty routine. You, by going through this motion, will make the required approvals for those. If there's anything that is unusual or non-routine, we'll let you know. But
Okay.
that's always been our
So should
different item.
Okay.
And that's an accounts payable item, right?
Yeah. They will eventually find their way through this process and
Yeah.
Yeah.
all that. So that's when you will see those. I just wanted you to be aware that that's what became of that email.
Thanks. So I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Okay.
You guys get non-public minutes too?
Excuse me?
Did you get non-public?
Yeah, we got non-public for 7-2 and
16. 7-2 and 7-16.
7-16, yes.
No, today's 7-16.
No, so
6-14 and 7-2, 6. How was it?
I know I read them both. Did you get a chance to
They're really
look at the
similar.
non-public? that
I
was
had
sent?
no issues with it.
We just need the dates.
I need the date. 6-18 and 7-2.
6-8. So can I have a motion on the minutes?
Public or non-public?
Both?
Oh,
Unless you want to do them separately. Or you should do them separately.
okay, yeah, I'll make a motion to approve the public minutes from the meeting of July 2nd.
Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
What was the date of the non-public?
6-18 and 7-2 with the two that we got.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the non-public minutes of June 18th and July 2nd, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All right. Board reports. No budget committee yet, correct?
Not yet, until the 26th.
Planning board?
Planning board just met, going over an ongoing application. We also had some talk about the master plan subcommittee, and that is basically there's enough people assembled now, and we're throwing around a couple of proposed dates for their first meeting, which I don't believe they decided on an official one yet.
Yeah, I got an appointment thing for sometime in September. I think it was.
Yeah, it was early September, I think it was, yeah. And also they, they discussed making it clear from the outset what the commitments will be. just so that people aren't scared away, or anybody that wants to participate
And
can come without the worry that they'll be buried under a mountain of obligation. So,
did you want to bring this up now,
I can, if
or
you
do you
want.
want to?
Yeah, I mean, I can cover it fairly quickly. So I had a few feedback items that they wanted me to bring back to the board. The first ones deal with this letter from May 30th that the planning board sent us. This was the letter where they had asked us to contact the state about painting the lines wider, which didn't end up happening. But there's some other items on here too that they wanted me to follow up on.
But did you let them know that we did send that letter?
Yes, yeah, I was very clear that we had sent the letter, and despite our early expectation that it wouldn't be an issue, it never unfolded the way we had hoped,
And
so.
Chris, did you ever hear?
Yeah, they, DOT, at some point, it took a couple weeks to get to the right point in the bureaucracy, but basically said that we will do it to our standard. Anything other than the standard requires an engineering review out of Concord. The point where the road had already been resurfaced, it was obviously too late for any kind of that activity. I didn't get the impression that it would be received that warmly anyway, but I was just reading through between the lines on the email that I got. So they did respond eventually.
So I guess the question then would be, when would be the next time for, how, did they think how far in advance they would want that?
We didn't carry it that far, but I don't know what their painting routine is. It's probably not too dissimilar from the resurfacing.
I thought they repainted every fall. Of course, not now, because they just did it, but I think every year it's every fall.
I mean, well, redoing it is obviously a different thing than going over it, but I can chase that some more if you want, but.
Well, so they have a letter in hand, so they got, okay, so there's been, in this case, it's a timing issue, so I guess the question that I want to understand is, since it does require, what would the next step be,
I didn't push because it's kind of after the fact, so, but I can keep charging on that if you wish.
Anyways, the next item on that was bicycle route signage. So apparently, routes 152 and 156 and Flutter Street and Deerfield Road are officially designated bicycle routes. So they want us to ask the state to put the appropriate signage for that out there, which it certainly doesn't hurt to ask.
well, so here's the question, and maybe you don't know, but, so some of these town roads, so would you be responsible for the water, and then they would be responsible for the city, so that seems like it's not, trying to figure out who, right, in the DOT, who would be. So, since it's not coming out of our budget, it's only water and air that is coming out of our budget, and how much this one's out of, we do that.
Next budget year, yeah. And the next item on their letter was the invasive species along the roadways. They had wanted us to, they had some recommendations in their letter about contact person at NHDAMF. I'm not sure what that stands for. It's not spelled out here. But apparently there are people at the state that do.
It's the New Hampshire Department of Agriculture. So that's
So they want us to coordinate with them and hire a licensed herbicide applicator or or even have our highway crew get licensed to treat invasive plants. Given as shorthanded as we are, I'm not sure how feasible that is, but,
So I think this is like more of an agenda for conservation, for conservation commission, because I think this is more complex. This is one person, who's already, the roads were paved for that would be one thing we would have to do, is find out where the worst cases are, and then we have
yeah, that's not a quick fix, yeah.
I would like to see the conservation commission and us kind of working together on that. So, can we go on?
No, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, the thing with this stuff, it's not just limited to roadsides. I was visiting a friend of mine that just bought a property here in town, and behind his house, he's got an open area of acres at least, large open area, and that whole hillside is all knotweed. And, I mean, cleaning up the roads obviously would, you know, it's very visible, but, you know, this stuff is as prevalent as it is. It's wild, you know, the undeveloped area. And the fourth item on their letter was having the town order and install scenic road signs at each end of all of our designated scenic roads in Nottingham. I'm not sure that's something we can do in this budget year. I mean, it wasn't anything we had planned on. We can certainly make that an agenda item for next year's budget planning. Yeah.
Maybe we don't do all at one time, I don't know how much the signs are, but maybe we
Yeah.
Signs generally are not outrageously expensive. They have obviously plenty of variation within that.
They did note that their transportation committee would provide a desired example to the highway department.
I think they did send it to us, or maybe.
Did they?
Maybe I was on the committee when, they gave me an example of one that's used
I don't remember seeing one. But we can check on that.
We might tackle signs at some point. Things have come up around. Now, those are policy issues, they aren't sign issues, that's pretty straightforward, but, signage on emergency lanes, signage on, there's been some general talk, nothing specific, but we might address that, because, if you put it up and it disappears, then there's an expectation that it reappears, so you just have to set the priorities, and we can implement them all.
And, whoops. I'd say the last two items, not part of this letter. One, they've asked again also about what I've mentioned at a previous meeting about designating the upper dirt lot for town business on weeknights. People getting crowded out from the ball games and all that. I said I'd bring that forward again. And the.
That's just during the fall too.
During ball season, yeah. Really, I can't think of any other time of the year where the parking lot gets that full.
It depends on the meeting schedules, but
Yeah.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are the worst, because that's when the heaviest meeting schedules are. Over 6 weeks or so.
Is it too far away? Right. And the last item to come up was the road to the Fundy launch. So from Deerfield Road, the dirt road that winds down to the Fundy launch, it's actually state-owned, and it's in pretty rough shape, erosion, rocks, roots. Apparently, it's a real axle breaker. So they've asked us to ask the state, or at least add our voice to those asking the state to grade it, so that it's a little more passable than it is now.
So question on the designated, upper lot. So, maybe block off some parking for those nights. That's gonna mean that you're gonna go there, or someone's gonna go there. Or can we do something on the side,
Up the police side?
on the police side, that won't, interfere.
We'd have to check with the chief, because they've got it posted, no public traffic. That's their main corridor in and out for the cruisers.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend showing the public that it's plausible to park there, because that, you know, that won't hold, you know. And they need to get in and out of there pretty quick, so that's probably not. How do you define what is eligible for that upper lot, and how do you enforce it? I mean, obviously, you're not going to enforce it, but call it. What you're really saying is no baseball parking, but I don't think that's what you want to put on the sign.
Right. It could be something like, I don't want to say the town business, because people could assume that baseball is town business, because it happens here in town, but something like parking for, you know, board and committee meetings or something like that. Maybe a little shorter.
You could say town business
Official town
because,
business.
yeah, because the tax collector is usually looking at that kind of too, so you can come in with that. So, yeah, but the enforcement,
Yeah.
I think we need to think about it some more. I mean, it's not the first time it's come up, it's been something that, and it usually is during the baseball season. That's the, but one of the lights getting
I was hoping to get an update from Tyler there. I think we've selected something. We've selected a fixture, but we don't have an install date yet. They're doing it for parts, so it's on their schedule.
So, thanks for the, then we need to just go back
Yeah.
to the next meeting and give them kind of.
Yeah, I'll give them an update.
on-
I took notes, so I know what to tell them.
And, see if they have any thoughts as far as the parking.
No idea. It's just come up as a request twice, but no discussion or no ideas given on it. What do we think about the Fundy launch thing?
Well, that sounds like that's a really good
Doable?
And I think with the expectations
That's it for me.
Nothing on Wednesday.
No, there's a meeting brewing.
Chris, you're up.
Just a few things. I won't rehash the whole list I sent you on Friday, but the PFC testing around the landfill was done a week ago tonight. We got, of the targeted homes, we had 2 that are vacant and have been for some time, so there's no power, no water, couldn't test them. No big deal. If we need to go back to them somehow, we can. And one owner that just wasn't comfortable, couldn't work it out getting into the property. So all but 3 were done, and we expect to see the results in about 4 weeks from now.
Is that when those 4 weeks?
Yes, yeah, that was all done at the same time. They went back into the landfill area at the same time. The only other big item with any kind of news is the dump truck. Ben and I spent some time on that today with Jack. Consensus is that we can save it for less than what the insurance company is going to pay us to total it. Looks like about 34 coming back from insurance, and it'll cost us about 27 to replace the dump and get it back roadworthy again. See a little bit of risk with that in that you don't know what else will go wrong in the future, but we talked through the scenarios of what our cycle of replacement is for new vehicles and the risk that we would face this winter in losing, if we were to lose that one now, we have another one that's due to be replaced, which is probably in worse shape than the one that just tipped over. So the risk of having just 2 this winter weighed pretty heavy on us. We're not in a position to buy a new one right now. And it seems like a reasonably good use of funds, and we could probably get 3, maybe 4 more years out of the truck that we're talking about. It's got a newer engine in it, and seems to be worth that investment, despite reluctance to put good money after bad. But weighing all the possible scenarios, that looks like the best one.
Pending if there's any frame issues, which I haven't looked at, just to be on the safe side.
Now, if the insurance company is paying us to total it, does that mean it's uninsurable from then on?
No,
We'll go through a re-inspection process and get it, back to being street legal and insurable and everything. That's obviously can't get it inspected, it's of no use to us, so. Yeah, we'll have to go through the title process.
it's not roadworthy. It won't be put on the road until that happens. You can't for liability purposes.
And if it turns out there are frame issues or anything, is there equipment on the truck that can be newer, better, stuff that can be?
Radio and stuff like that, but there's nothing really interchangeable. It's 13 years old, so it doesn't have much to offer to any other vehicles. If we do have frame issues, we'll know it before we sink. We got a little bit of money to spend to get to that decision point, but not a lot. It's a couple $1,000 maybe, and that's our next. That's our last chance to walk away from it and give up on it. Is that frame evaluation? We're going to take it to Donovan in Manchester, big shop. We expect will do all of the work. We juggled a few different vendor options and getting it all in one place, getting it all done in one place, in a place that's big enough to evaluate the frame was the winning choice. Basically $34,000 in cash does us nothing for this winter in particular, and doesn't really strengthen our position in terms of our replacement schedule very much. Weighing that against a pretty good chance that we get 3 or 4 more years out of it.
With the new dump body that's put on there versus the one that's on there now, patching the new dump body, you should get another 3-4 years out of it easily. The motor that's on it's been replaced, what, 2 years ago?
Yeah, maybe 3, yeah.
It's got only 73,000 miles on it, so between that and the dump body, again, depending on any frame issues, you should easily get 3 or 4 more years out of it.
We're staring down the need for one new dump, and not too far behind that, we've got a grader and a loader coming due in the next 4 years. Anything else on that? And then the last item, just one of our full-time firefighters has submitted their resignation. Tori is headed for the Hooksett Fire Department. Once again, we're, in terms of our firefighting staff, we're competing with departments that have much different schedule arrangements, much better overtime opportunities, and frankly, are busier and more exciting than we are. A lot of the bigger departments are running 2 on, 4 off kind of schedules, or 124, 224s over the course of 3 days, and then 5 days off. So it's a completely different lifestyle. That's just, we're never going to be there in terms of our needs. So those are the same kind of challenges that we've seen. Those every time we've lost a firefighter in the last 4 years, it's been to a bigger department that's running a comparable kind of schedule.
Yeah, I'd like to, at some point, Chris, I'd like to.
Ago, maybe.
And I know that you tried to set it up in a way that was cross coverage. You must have.
Yeah, the whole model that we're using, it's working when we're staffed, it works really well. Coverage is really good. But, yeah, he said the same thing. We need to look at the whole model of how we're doing things. Yeah, that discussion's gonna have to happen. This can't go on forever. And I think that's all I have for you.
Perfect. Can you do that on purpose?
No?
Come on up.
It's 6:59. I can talk for another minute if you want.
It's 7 by that clock. Come on up.
Decker, 11 Lakeview Drive. On Friday, I'm sorry, I'm really. Oh, that's gonna be my next question. Looks like, that's fine. So, kind of, to recap from the, on the form that we sent, there's a New Hampshire Lakes column and a PLIA column. They're slightly different because of the way New Hampshire Lakes handles their 15% fiduciary responsibility, the benefits and stuff. But we're very, very close with our numbers, and I talked to them today, and we're very negligible. So going through the New Hampshire Lakes column, so our payroll grant was $4,950. Our carryover of locally contributed funds from last year was $2,168. The funds that the town of Nottingham has sent in this year, $4,000, based on our last meeting with you guys. The PLIA has sent in $4,400. In addition, we also sent in $600. That's our membership, so our total contribution is $5,000 to date, but only $4,400 of that can be used towards payroll, which is why the number is split out. So that gives us the total local funds, including last year's carryover of $10,500. Our current local funds available to date, what we have left is about $9,000. Our total payroll that we're looking at is about $14,000. We've spent $140 in uniforms. Each new Lake Coast gets a uniform shirt. We buy them an additional shirt because a lot of them are working back-to-back shifts, and we also buy them a sweatshirt for those chilly mornings and days. So currently available funds for payroll is $13,800. So currently we've paid out $5,095. It's $524, 524 hours that we've been at the ramps so far. Estimated again, leftover is around $9,600, $9,700. Our estimated payroll for scheduled hours, this is actually taking what our schedule is from now until Columbus Day and figuring out based on everybody's hourly rate, what we're looking at needing is $11,700. So our shortfall that we're looking at is about $3,000. So that's, you know, if we use all of those hours, that's we're going to need to, between the town and the PLIA come up with about $3,500. The difference between that is one includes the 15% for taxes and stuff, the other does not. So the total local funds to support the program, not including the 15%, is about $1,400. The original estimated payroll hours, it was $18,200. The difference in that is I'm having trouble finding somebody to do afternoon hours in September, October. So we're looking at shifting our hours around a little bit to cover some of those afternoon hours. But because so many of our Lake Coast are students, college students and teachers, they do go back to school, so I'm struggling to find, coverage for those hours. Still have, people that have shown some interest, as well as our volunteers, so that wouldn't impact the payroll. So under the grant matching funds, these matching funds go towards next year's grant. So our $600, the PLA $600 for our membership. We spent about $200 replacing the stolen box from down at Fundy. We're going to have to spend a little bit more because we still need to figure out a permanent solution to keep that box from being stolen again. Right now, there's nothing in the box worth stealing. I would have loved to see the people's faces when they opened the box and found papers and stickers and office supplies and stuff like that. So, but they use those boxes at construction sites to store tools and stuff in. So if somebody saw, a construction box, they might have thought it was tools. Other launches also charge to launch, and so they may have thought that there was money in it. So Donna put it down there years ago. It was chained up, nobody's touched it, but somebody cut the lock and took the box during a rainy day. Took about 12 hours of running around trying to put everything back together the Friday before July, to get it so that we could, continue our work and everything. Chris and I, Chris helped me come up with a solution, so if we didn't replace the box, we had a solution. Help. Matt Curry from the fire department actually was the one who told me where to go get the box, and he offered to install it for us. But there wasn't any way to mount it to the, so right now it's just on a cable lock, and it's a more permanent. So we're gonna have to figure that out. From the PLA right now is $500. We've, as of last Friday, 240 hours of our volunteer cash equivalent towards next year's grant. We've also had 2 saves. One this weekend, on a pilot launch, actually going into the lake on our property before they found the milfoil on their lake, so that counts as a save, even though it was a private launch. And then we also had a Eurasian milfoil save. It's the first Eurasian milfoil save we've ever had. It's always been variable milfoil. Amy, the biologist that we worked with in Concord, was very surprised to see a Eurasian milfoil in our area. There hasn't been any, and unfortunately it was on the boat off the water. And so it means it was in this canoe on the water. Fortunately, the Lake Coast found it at the bottom of the water at all. So that's rather concerning that it's something new. Fortunately, Amy said it wouldn't like the pH of Pawtucket very much, so it probably wouldn't survive very well, but it is something new that we're going to continue having to watch for.
Is one more aggressive than the other?
In Pawtucket, the variable is more aggressive than the Eurasian. Matt, did you have any questions?
So are you looking for this $2,000 additional? Is that what you're looking for tonight, or?
Well, it's, so it would be helpful if it was approved tonight, in the instance that it is needed. I guess I'll put it that way. I wouldn't necessarily say I think we should send it right now, but if it's approved so that if it becomes necessary, then yes.
I think is that what we've done before?
That's what you did when we met with you last year.
The PLIA there, you said they contribute to it?
Yes, we've put in, so far, we've put in $5,000. 4,400 of that is available for payment.
Just to refresh my memory and for the benefit of the public, can you just give a quick rundown of all the various groups that contribute to this effort?
That would be New Hampshire Lakes. The grant comes through DES, so it's a state grant that New Hampshire Lakes manages, the PLIA and the town of Nottingham.
And the volunteers.
And the volunteers.
Volunteers, yeah.
And we have 28 volunteers, so we have a good group of volunteers that are really doing a lot this year.
I'll make a
Hey,
motion.
hold on, I guess I feel a little uncomfortable approving something before you need it.
Kind of like what we did for the historical. So it would be at the discretion.
And,
It has been raised and appropriated.
okay, okay.
It's just the disbursement of it.
The money also has to be control, so when it gets to a certain point,
You know, and I understand, and I certainly understand the importance of the program as well. I'm just trying to wrap my head around the expenses here.
I can certainly, if we, you know, when we get to the point of payment, I can send basically this same document to Chris to show, you know, what's been expended and what our anticipated, for the rest of the year is at that point. We would need to, make sure that it's there 2 weeks before the anticipated payroll. So that request would probably be a month before, so that you guys had time to look at it, talk about it, and then actually get it sent.
Okay.
If you're not comfortable with it, you can hold on and ask for
When do you need this by?
See, that's the question, I don't know. I can.
So if we were to, just, like, hold off until the next meeting when we have more board members here, that's not gonna put you in the hole or
So are you
anything?
thinking like,
Next.
the middle of August?
First week of August, whatever the next town meeting is. The next one.
Today's the 16th, that'll be the 3rd.
First week of August.
Oh, so that's getting pretty close to your, I'm okay with it.
I'll watch the cash flow. This is gonna be weather-driven and
Yeah,
coverage-driven
yeah.
for them, so.
And we've had great weather so far, so, yeah, okay.
All right, yeah, I'll make a motion to distribute $2,000 to the New Hampshire Lakes out of funds previously appropriated by the town.
Second.
Thank you. I will also send a letter to DOT about with the Lake
But how bad is it?
It's bad. I mean, you go off the pavement and you drop like 3 inches. Just going off the pavement to get to the dirt road, and then it's really washed out because some of the really hard rains that we
Yeah.
had.
That's how it was described to me, as like erosion and ruts and rocks and roots and.
Yeah, I will only take my pickup truck down there and try to go by boat whenever I possibly can to avoid it.
I'll have to take a drive,
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
drive down after the
Thank you,
meeting,
guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
check out the truck too, because I forgot to do that. Okay, up next is the budget, or do we wanna?
Sure,
we
yep.
just go
Whatever you
through
wish.
this?
All right, so we're through 2 quarters. I sent you a recap and the detail. I think just the high spots without, you know, you can ask me whatever you want. The major purchases, which kind of skew the overall picture. We've got a portion of our highway truck purchased. We haven't spent anything from our shim and seal coat line, so that's 230 or so unspent. We've got half of our payroll, 7 months of our benefits in here, and we've spent 45% of the budget. So overall, we're in good shape. We'll finish the year under budget as we have to. We always do that, but I think we'll be able to do it without any significant rescissions or spending freezes or anything. We'll look at that again as we finish the third quarter, but we should be okay. We know we've got vacancies, so that just continues to, create savings, such as it is. Vacancy in fire, vacancy in highway. I think the library's back to being fully staffed, so that won't create a whole lot of savings. The things that are not trending right, salt, sand and gravel. Salt is winter driven, sand and gravel will be, we're stocking up on materials, and we're spending some money on material to use on gravel roads that we haven't done in the past, so we're gonna test that budget line. Salt, the sheds are full, but one good Thanksgiving ice storm will wipe that out, so we could be over there. The elections are still to come. We always kind of take a shot at that and guess, looking at prior years with 3 elections, but we will gather again in September and November for
Yeah.
Elections, and
So
we do a terrible job of budgeting that out.
the September one's just, is it just
The state primary.
the, okay,
It's a full day of voting, and it's the full shebang, so we don't need to bulk up for a heavy turnout on that day
right.
like we would for a general, but it is coming. Let's see.
And on the insurance line, Chris, is that pretty much everything's paid up?
Yes, the workers' comp and the property and liability, those are all single payment. Those are all done for the year. Legal, we're well under. We pulled that budget back and still are gonna have plenty of room there, so we're back down to something reasonable there. Health insurance, we're gonna have savings in with those vacancies again. That number's that savings is gonna keep growing.
Yeah.
We're adding and subtracting people here and there, but the head count on health insurance is still below what we budgeted, so that's gonna continue to produce savings. The facility stuff will be, couple lines will probably end up missing, but overall, we're gonna be okay. Utilities, fuel is creeping up. That's gonna be a thing next year, I think. I mean, the price at the pump is obviously not what it was a year ago. So that's gonna be challenging next year. We'll be okay this year. And the only other wild card that we haven't really drilled down on in a while, and we're due for, is take a look at our recycling revenue.
Yeah.
We know it's trending poorly, but that doesn't show up on the expense side. Most of it shows up on the revenue side. That doesn't kill us one way or the other. It's not huge dollars, but it's going to start to be more and more challenging as time goes by. So those are the big items. Now, if you have questions about big or little.
My main one was just the insurance. I mean, everything's pretty well
Yeah,
tracked.
which insurance? You're talking
The workman's comp and.
Yeah, those are all,
Yeah.
Invoiced in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
We get, the property and liability is the biggest one. That's, we get a good guess during the budget cycle what that's gonna be, but we ended up saving a couple grand there, so.
How is the, it may be too soon, but how is the solar working out for us? Do we have enough data to?
It's not plugged in yet. Still waiting for them to sell it. So,
okay.
that won't have a big budgetary impact because the price we're gonna pay is so close to the market price, it's not gonna matter for 6 years. So it won't change our operating budget
Do we have
for the foreseeable
any
future.
updates from them on?
I talked with them 10 days ago or so. They're still trying to get their finances and, you know, same story.
Yeah.
No progress that was reportable, per se. Fortunately, the default rates on electricity went down a couple months ago, and we got out of our prior purchase agreements, so we're not getting hit. The delay is not costing us. It's costing them. So, they've sunk a whole bunch of money into this that it's just sitting up there not doing anything.
Yeah.
So,
Any other questions for Chris on the budget? Thanks for doing this, Chris. Okay, so I think the only other item that we have is just to direct the tax collector to do the liens he needs to do. So if I could have a motion?
That's incorrect. The liens have already been executed.
To do the,
May I?
sure.
What are you looking, I don't know what you're looking at.
The ones that you sent us the emails about?
Yep.
You were looking for us to make an emotion on?
Yes, there's three things pending for the selectmen. Which one are you referring to? Which RSA does that refer to?
The 65.
8065. The selectmen have two tasks to complete before they can direct the tax collector to do a mortgagee search, if my memory serves me right, not to execute liens. You have that RSA in front of you?
I don't have your emails in front of me, Jean.
The municipality, county, or state,
Gene, what I was gonna have them do was the same thing they did in September, in terms of directing you to take that next step. That's the thing we were trading emails about last week.
yes, yes and no. They have two exercises to do before they can direct me. And you and I have discussed this. Per the RSA. They have to determine whether one or more outstanding mortgages exist for each lien executed as the lien holder, because the lien's already been executed. And then they may direct or not direct the tax collector to, quote, identify and to give such notice to any mortgagees.
You would be comfortable with them stating their determination that mortgages exist?
I don't see how they can do that in good faith if they don't know that.
If we can tell them that they exist, and they take that as
If we can
Sufficient
tell,
evidence?
how would that work?
that, well, the staff could look at the records and determine that there was a mortgage holder, tell the board that there was a mortgage holder, and the board could take that as sufficient.
Our last discussion, you were gonna get in touch with Bart, is his name, the town attorney?
Yeah, have you seen the latest email from him?
No.
Okay, he wrote back and said that you need to do this regardless of what this says, and
So we're gonna disregard parts of the law per our attorney. Can I have that in writing? Is that the way you wanna
You-
go, that disregard the RSA? I'm asking the board.
So here's what I think, Jean. I think we need to hold off on doing this. I think that what I would appreciate is when you send us requests and information, that you explain it a little bit more, because oftentimes I'm not understanding what you are looking for.
It's quite clear in the email, I line it out,
But
and
so-
then,
the
I don't know
last
how I
e-
can
the
make it
last-
any clearer.
One of the recent emails you sent, you referred to attachments and you name names in your email, but the attachments you send us don't match the names that you refer to in the email.
That's a different subject.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused as far as what it is that you need from us. So what I'm asking for is if you could either work with Chris to help figure it out or work with us.
We have one calendar thing that,
We must do.
no, it's, time is of the essence with these things. And so what I was putting before them was the same motion that we used last fall that was satisfactory to keep that process moving. Whether or not that step is actually legally required, we can continue to dance around, it doesn't matter. It's free to do it, so we were just gonna do it in hopes that you could keep moving forward.
I hate dancing around the law. I've received, what I.
No, we're not dancing around the law, we're dancing around each other about how we interpret that law. I'm just trying to keep the process moving.
I'd like to keep it moving too.
So
And
can you tell
as
me what we could have them vote on right now so that you would be comfortable moving forward?
Yes, they can vote on if mortgages exist, and I put that process in motion, and I've communicated this to Chris. We have an outside source that does research.
That
I've
was,
sent that list to her so that she can advise you if there are mortgagees. If you want to make a motion that if our contract researcher comes up with mortgages, then the tax collector is directed to identify and give such notice to any mortgagee.
okay.
Because I don't want to stop the process.
That's entirely what I was trying to accomplish tonight.
Oh, you were going to bring this up then? I'm sorry. I jumped the gun.
This is what they were starting to do.
Oh, I'm sorry.
when you-
How timely. Oh, that's right, yes.
Okay,
Yep. So,
So
We're
if, here's the motion that I started with, and I want you to add a clause that you just spoke of with if the contractor makes this determination. The board hereby directs the tax collector to identify and give required lien notices to mortgagees pursuant to RSA 8065, which I believe you're thinking of as step 2 in the process.
and now if you add that clause to it.
If the contractor,
Contract mortgagee search
if,
company, which she actually has.
if the contracted mortgagee search company
She's an LLC, I guess that's a company.
yep.
Anyhow,
finds
that one or more mortgagees exist.
one or more, you're not gonna be able to read this, Tony, I'm sorry.
Will you be surprised?
It's a quote right out of then. The tax collector is so directed, whatever.
Okay, so if the board were to put up with us for a few more minutes and vote that the select board hereby directs the tax collector to identify and give required lien notices to mortgagees pursuant to RSA 8065, if the contracted mortgage search company finds that one or more mortgages exists. Is that enough to keep you moving?
Is this Bart? Yeah.
Yes.
Did he indicate that that is one or more outstanding mortgagees for each account or in toto? I do not know the answer to that.
We did not get to that level of detail. His
Well,
concern.
Jean's gonna do a search, so she's gonna search every one of them.
Right,
Yes,
So that'll, thinking out loud, that'll take care of that.
okay. So that motion is enough to keep you comfortable moving forward?
Yes, as I have been moving forward.
Okay.
give it a shot.
Okay. All right, I'll make a motion that the select board directs the tax collector to identify and give required lien notice to mortgagees pursuant to RSA 80:65. If the contractor contracted mortgage search company finds that one or more mortgages exist.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Could you actually translate that to, I can understand that?
I'll try, if I may.
Let's do that offline. If it's okay with you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
How would that work offline?
The two of you go talk after we're done.
Do you think that the public should be privy to that conversation?
It's up to you if you want to use your,
I'll make
It's your meeting.
I'll make it short,
Make it very short, please.
very short.
Thank you.
During the liening process, once a property is liened for non-payment of taxes, which each property owner is well informed is going to happen, then the next step is to notify companies that hold a mortgage that their mortgage holder now has a municipal lien against their property. And then I think it's obvious at that point, if they have a mortgage, the mortgage company gets involved and the town should get its money quicker. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Gene.
Thank you.
All right. That it?
that's all I have for you.
I've got some other items that weren't responded to. One of them is, and Donna had communicated back to me, is that, again, an RSA, which I don't have in front of me, is when people overpay their taxes by mistake or with some duplicity, then I'm supposed to refund that money, not leave it on the books. So this has happened now in the case that we have 3 big companies that pay the taxes from different banks' escrow accounts. So they represent lots of banks and send in checks. We had, I think, 3 I sent you, and that might have been the one you're referring to, had the wrong paperwork with it. It doesn't invalidate the fact there was refunds to be made. One to Core Logic, which is a big company, one to Wells Fargo, who we know, and one to Loretta, another relatively unknown company. For various reasons, usually because the taxpayer for some reason pays it on his own, or there was a closing and the escrow or the closing company automatically thinks that they have to pay it. So when this electronic payment comes in, it tries to put it in that account, and the system says, no, it's going to be credited because we can't accept that money on the account. So it ends up in a credit report, if you will, outstanding credits. And according to fairly recent training I got, we're not supposed to sit on those and leave them till the next billing cycle. They're supposed to go back. So right now, the 3 big ones, I think there's about 6 that I tried to document with those 3 companies and the reason why. And those are maybe the reports that you didn't see, which is an activity report that showed who did pay and whatever. So part of the selectman's task is to order the treasurer to cut a check for a refund. So that's why I sent all that information, and I can supply anything else you need so that the refund goes out to those companies. I have advised those companies that they have refunds coming, and they understand why. The unfortunate incident that we had last billing cycle, not this current one, is that they paid somebody else's bill. And that was a mess to straighten out, but we got it finally resolved and didn't do any, we hadn't ended up doing a refund. But then, once again, some of the stuff has changed since I've been in office, not because the law has changed, but because I wasn't aware of it. And with continued training, I've become aware of these things. So that was the reason for that. If you want more information on that, I can do it, or I can work with Chris and give him the information, and then we'll work through getting the refund to them. That's one thing. The other thing is the Bateman properties. I hope that you all got
Those refunds have been processed and approved by the board already. Those checks have been signed.
When did the board meet on those? I must have
Earlier tonight.
Huh?
Earlier tonight.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Oh, it was in the manifest.
Yes.
Oh, okay. That's why I didn't hear anything about it. Okay, that's good. And the Bateman properties, I sent an update on where we are with the tax deeding of the so-called Bateman properties. Did everybody receive that?
To be honest with you, Gene, some of the emails that I get from you, the attachments aren't there. So, this is one of them.
We've got information on that property, which has given us pause on the taking.
Would you send me back a response that
Yeah, I
that
will.
wasn't attached, because.
I will do that,
otherwise
sir.
I don't know. Sorry, Chris.
Where is this property located?
202. This is one we.
That's the one with all the furniture in the background. Yeah, and the pictures that we
the
have.
one on the
North River
lake?
The one that
Yes.
North River Lake?
Across the
Okay.
lake and a little piece.
is
Just
a
wanna visualize the right one here.
tough decision.
Yeah, we've had information that we haven't yet confirmed, but it looks like there's some cleanup activity going on, and we had some second-hand information, and it might be for sale. So we've been slow playing that. We're not rushing to
This is
take
news.
everything.
This is news.
This one is news to you. Some of it's news to me today, so. We will get you the authorization that you need to spend more money to do that searching, if necessary. I think we'll know that within 10 days or so, if it's necessary.
The overview of this is that there's 3 properties and he died intestate. There's no other person on any of the deeds. So that leaves it up to probate. I've searched probate and spoke with probate. There's nothing under reviews. Not only that, there's 3 John Batemans.
Oh, I remember that.
So
I
it's.
think that was in your email.
Yeah, so it's a bit of a mess, and when I say a mess, it falls on me to determine who to notify about the deeding, because you have to pre-notify on deeding as opposed to leaning, you know, it changes a little bit. So, Jane Sanders, again, that other company did a search, on this, and there's an outstanding mortgage. I just found this out the other day.
That's news to me.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I got this last week when I was working. However, it's an old mortgage, and there's no date of discharge. So it's a legal question whether that mortgage has been automatically discharged because it's so old. And it affects all 3 properties. Rochester Savings Bank and Trust, which was bought out by Citizens. This is why we hire an outside person. She knows. The mortgage says Rochester, so you send a notice to Rochester, and the owner can complain, well, you never notified my mortgagee. So fortunately, it's a fluid situation, especially with banks. So, we're gonna slow.
We're gonna slow play that. We weren't anxious to take it to begin with. We're not looking for a reason to take it. We're looking for reasons not to, so.
So I'll coordinate with you, or you'll apprise me if I should.
If we need to keep
If we
moving,
need to take further action, you will.
I will let you know if we need you to keep moving.
Okay,
Is that good enough for you?
we're on pause.
Yes.
One other comment, are we gonna replace the assessing coordinator? I don't know if the board knows why I asked that, what businesses are on. She or he keeps up the records. We've had help from Habitat once a week, and Dawn's been covering a lot of that stuff. Have not had any issues. But there's a lot that goes into that job, especially when it comes to billing. I gotta bill the right people. That, we've got a lot of property sales. When the next tax bill comes out, I'm addressing this early. When the next tax bill comes out, we bill the right person. The way I'm aware of a lot of sales is because I get notification of either a prepayment or a payment of taxes, and it says buyer and seller, and I pass those on to the assessing department, so there's a heads up that FYI, Greenridge property's been sold, here's the buyer, here's the seller. So we coordinate that way, and I have done that in the past. Talked to Habitat, he says, yeah, it's a big help. Yeah. Check for deeds. I went to a meeting with the New Hampshire Tax Collectors Association at the Registry of Deeds with Kathy Stacy and Becky. And they're instituting a new thing, and we're supposed to have somebody come in and put in new software. Have you heard anything about that?
Who's, which software are you talking about?
Software for a dedicated place so the town of Nottingham can go and look for the deeds that they're affected by.
The county thing?
Yeah, at the,
Okay, the county has a new interface, is that what they're talking
no,
about?
that's Ava. That's the name of it. It's an easier search engine than the previous one. But this is a new one. I thought I sent you a copy of the email saying that they would, that they'd be out.
This afternoon, and they indicated that they will tell us.
Keep on tracking the, you, did they mention the software installation?
It was our turn.
Okay, I got, that's FYI type of thing.
I actually got one quick question for Eugene. I found your email, the one where you sent us the information about Larita, and in that message, you copied the text of the RSA about refunding overpayments.
Yes.
And the RSA ends with, that it has to be done within 60 days of the actual payment. So do we have any overpayments that are getting close to that limit?
No, they came in on this billing cycle, and so therefore they're probably a few weeks old, no more than a month. Because these companies don't usually, one of them waits 2 days before they're due, spending $200,000 to enter. The other ones don't rush into it either, but not that bad. So, no, we're not up against the 60. That's why I didn't wait for an answer. I got things, sounds like Chris followed through on the check. And I need a copy of those checks because in the system, get those out of my credit list, it's not automatic, and when I do that, I have to record the check number.
We can do that.
That's usually,
Thank you.
Okay, we need to enter into the
Letter?
A. So folks, we need to enter into non-public.
I asked two questions. Tony, what was bringing about all those things, what was that based on?
I'm sorry, what's the question? Oh, all the,
Given a long list of good stuff you're talking about.
okay.
I have no idea where that came from.
Oh, that was from the planning board meeting from this past Wednesday. Yeah.
Planning board transportation subcommittee.
Planning board transportation subcommittee. Did you approve or not, or was going to approve that way if you would have to overpay? Did you do anything with that?
So the overpayments were, the ones that we was discussing were approved in the minutes.
Okay, so you don't need to approve it.
They were in the minutes.
They were already approved
They-
before he got here.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So we're gonna enter into non-public, not a non-public, we'll be, closing the public meeting.
What letters? A and what else?
Just A, right, Chris?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we enter non-public session under RSA 91A:3, Section A.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Hi, Ben Bartlett.
Aye.
Aye, Tony Dumas.
Good night.